Hello there, team. Hey, this video is going to talk about a switch case statement as a method for you to do some kind of logic in a RedLion HMI that you need to work through a sequence of steps, almost like ladder logic, but more in a C programming environment. So in this application, uh, I'm going to run a program. I'm going to go over here to Programs, and I have a program here called the main loop, and I'm using a switch slash case statement here to execute this. And this is an interesting method because you have the switch command here that takes in a tag variable. So I have a tag called main control. It's an integer, it's an X. And then it goes through, and depending on what value or number this happens to be, will determine which particular step or case that I happen to be in. So if we look at this, the structure of this, you have your switch here, you have an open squiggly bracket here, which goes all the way down the bottom with this one here. And then inside the switch statement, you have these different cases. So you have case, open parentheses, number one, and then a colon, not a semicolon, but this is a colon here. And then if you want to do multiple steps in each one, then I'll do an open squiggly bracket, which goes with this closed squiggly bracket down here. And following the timer video that I have, I'm using my timer sequence here to run my logic. So in this case, I have a program here called main timer ticks. I already did a video on this. If you just look on my YouTube channel for timers, I think you'll find a video that describes this sequence, but it's a function. I feed it how long in seconds that it needs to run, and once it exceeds, the ticks exceeds that, it will return a 1. If not, it keeps returning a 0 and keeps counting up. So if I go back to my main loop, my first time that I call this, I'm going to go for 1 second. And then when this if statement becomes true, then I'm going to go set main control to step number 2, and that's going to step down to here, and it's going to go into here, and it's going to do that one for 2 seconds. And then after that one, main control goes to number 3. It'll run down to here. It goes to here. This time I pause for 3 seconds. And after that, I go to number 4, and here 4, and number 5, right down here. And then I went into the default video, or default section here, such that if none of the 1 through 5, if main control doesn't equal any of those numbers, then I reset my tick counter here to 0, and it doesn't run. Now this program is being ran over in display pages, and on the display, click over on pages up here, on the global tab, I'm running that program on loop here, on tick I should say. Main loop is being run here, and all you do, team, to do that is go over to programs and simply grab that and drag it into here. That's all you do. Or you can also just type that. Since I'm not feeding any variables to it, I don't need to put anything in between the parentheses. That's not a function. As you can see, the ticks has an X here, so it has to get the value. So that's what I'm doing in this example here. Let's go ahead and download this to the HMI. Let's see if it runs here, team. So here I am in the HMI here running, and nothing's happening right now because main control equals 0. Doesn't equal 1, 2, 3, or any of those numbers. So when I put this in number 1, so if I click here and make this go to number 1, you're going to start to see the tick counter work, and now it goes to number 2. This time it should count for 2 seconds, and then number 3 should go to 3 seconds. Boom. And then it goes to number 4, and you're going to see that at the last one, when I get to number 5 here, this will do for 5 seconds, it should start all over again. Watch. It's going to go back to number 1. See how I went back to number 1? If I go back to my program here, you're going to see this. Here's number 1, 2, 3, 4. When I get down to 5, when that one executes, I loop back by setting this back to number 1. So this will continually run unless I put the main control tag into 0 or some number that doesn't equal any of these cases. Thus, that would be the default setting. So if I go back to the web browser here, you can see it running here. It's cranking along. If I put this to number 0 right there, oops, I didn't click it right. Put 0. There's 0, and it resets that. So now it's not running because the main control's in state number 0. Now, if I put this at state number 3, for instance, it's going to take off at state number 3 and continue on and continue to loop. Once it gets done with this, it'll go back to state number 1 and continue to loop as long as this does not equal 0 or a number greater than 5. So if I put a number 6, because that doesn't equal any of those states, that's going to execute the default section here. So that is a way to have a continuous loop. And you can think about a case statement here in a roundabout way. This is almost like a rung of ladder logic. It's just going step by step through here, and it stays in here until this section's done. And then after this guy equals this if statement becomes true, then it goes to number 2 and goes in here and stays in this mode. I want to step further here, and for debugging purposes, and we don't advocate this for a end use, or not end use, but when you're done testing, you want to turn this off. But for debugging in the program here, I'm not doing anything here, but if I click on programs over here, click on the word programs on top of your programs, you can turn on the debug window here just by you say yes to this. And then if you go over here to the left, go to web server, and on your web server section, if you go to the features tab, up here in the features, my scroll's not working, but all the way down here in the features, if I just enable the system pages right here, and the debug console enable with display only, what that will let you do is it'll let you see the code running here. So if I navigate back to my web browser, here's the web browser here, and if I go back to the main listing, you'll have a system diagnostics. So I'm going to leave remote view open here, and then I've already opened another tab that shows the debug console on this guy. So when you click on that, let me go back here. When you click on system diagnostics, I got two browsers open here looking at the same screen here. But if you click on system diagnostics in a separate window and then do a debug console, you're going to get this window right here. So in this case, this will do this, but this is going to run through the code here and continually update and show you what's happening in your code. So right now you can see this scrolls through, it's not doing anything. The minute I put this in number 1, you're going to start to see the logic here as it pulls through. And I'll let it run for a little bit. Then I'm going to freeze this. And once I freeze it, I can actually sit in here and I can look and see where I am. So I can see right here that the ticks was equal to 1, so it's returning a 0. Go down here, ticks equals 2, returns a 0. The next one, it returns a 1 because that's what state, and then it moves the main control number 3, and now I'm going to be in the main control loop number 3. So you can use this to look at some of your code. Another thing you can also do, if you didn't want to use this, I've done this in some applications team, is if I go, I don't know how to turn that stuff off. If I go over here to programs and go to my main loop, this is another thing you can do, team, is you could put like a status thing. So I can say status equals, and then I'll say I'm in case 1, for instance. That's where I'm at right now. So I'll do that, and I don't know how to turn those things off, so we're going to get 50 million of these posties up here in this video. I don't know if they show up. They probably do. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put this in here, and this is a semicolon at the end of this. This is going to become a text field. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight this. I'm going to copy this, and I'll go down here, and I'll go boom. And this time I'm in case number 2. And then I'll go down here, and I'll put it right here. Nope, right there. Control V. This is case number 3. Slide down a little further. Enter here, Control V. This is case number 4. And then I'll go down here. This is case number 5 right here. And then I'm going to go down here, default, and I'm going to add it here. And here I'm going to say, I'm going to put here not running code because that's what it's not doing right now. Okay. All right. So I've added those in here. Notice over here, team, I do not have a tag called status right now. It's going to be a string tag. So you also see over here I got a yellow. So if I hit the translate, this button here is the compile or translate button. Crimson's going to bark at me. Now you got to pay attention here because by default it wants to declare this as an integer, but it's actually going to be a string tag. So if you hit yes here, you're going to have an error in your program because it's the wrong type. So this is supposed to be a string tag. So I'm going to do that. Click yes. Now I got the green item here, and I have a new tag over here called status. So if I go over here to display pages and then go to data tags over here, I'm going to grab this guy out here like this, and I'll make this guy be a little bigger so we can kind of see it. Make the font bigger, bold it like that. I think I got it big enough. We'll find out here in a second. All right, so let's go ahead and save this, and let's see, team, if we can get that visual feedback as we're running the code this time. I'm going to wait for it to restart here. All right, so it says it's not running code right now because it's in 0. And if I put this in number 1, hit enter. Now I'm in case 1. I should have put a apostrophe there. Anyway, what's that website fixes your grammar? Some Grammarly, something. Anyway, so you can see here it goes through the code. Case number 5, there I am. And when this one gets done, it should go back to case number 1, I believe. Let's see. There you go. So you can use that as a debug tool to also see where you're at when you're trying to play with this case statement idea. Anyway, it's just a quick video on a case statement. I got another video where I'm going to put a case statement within another case statement and call a subroutine. That'll be another video for another application. But this is a pretty cool idea. Anyway, if you want to copy this database or something, don't be afraid to send me an email or post a question here on the YouTube video, and I'll put your email there and I'll send you the database. Hey, thanks a lot. Have a great day.